Look at that. We've got 50 people in here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to
Good
Know Your Stack.
afternoon. Good afternoon. Let me present in Teams real quick.
How we doing? How's everyone feeling today? We are absolutely close to the weekend. There we go. Oh, Tim's here. We got Tim. We got Tim in the meeting.
Let's see. There we go. Are you able to see the slide deck just fine?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay.
Ooh,
Perfect.
we got a morning. We got a morning. Well, it's luckily 3 o'clock for us. It's almost over for us. not for everyone by the looks of it. See, I feel like I want to say hello, ladies and gentlemen, and all the note takers that are about to join us.
There's a lot of note takers trying to join the
There's
lobby.
about to be a lot of note takers joining us as well.
Yep. We're going into a different era, man.
Right, we have to be inclusive. We've got to start saying hello to note takers as well. It can't just be.
In a year from now, we're probably going to do webinars for just AI agents.
Can you imagine that? Welcome, Agent 007, to our meeting.
I guess we'll just wait for like maybe 1 more minute and then we'll just start off.
I mean, the one thing I do definitely want to say is everyone that's joined us from our last series 1, part 1, thank you for coming with us along with episode 2 as well. We appreciate you being here, and clearly we were entertaining enough and knowledgeable enough to bring you over back to episode 2 as well. That's a win in my books.
That is a big win for my book as well.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can get going. We got a good.
I am actually really curious, if I make some notes with the pencil here, do they disappear? Because we tested this and they did not disappear when we tested it. So let's see, does that go away for you, Jazzy?
It did. Yes, sir.
Okay, well that's good news, because this didn't work for us in just a couple of minutes back when we tested it. Perfect. Okay, so I guess we are just starting then. It's already 1 minute past 4, so there's probably some more people that will join in, but that is fine. What are we discussing today? First, intros. So Jazzy was really kind to me, and he actually filled in my intro. I didn't care to change it from the last episode, so it's still same as Jazzy. So I guess Jazzy can introduce himself, and then that also applies to me.
Absolutely, we keep it simple. Saving time is what we do here at Enforcer. Thank you for being here, guys. I'm Jazzy, Microsoft fanboy, as you know. Absolutely love to talk Microsoft, do Microsoft, everything related to the admin portals. Probably touch every button, even though I have no reason being in that pain. Still enjoy doing it. Still have my own demos at home. Talk to myself whilst I'm looking at admin portals. Still the official IT support for my parents. My parents did ring me a couple of days ago, asking to help them set up their phones because, calendars be calendaring. And it sometimes is a tough thing to do for parents, but I am on speed dial for my parents as always. And my IT career has always been MSP. That's all I've ever done. We've worked for MSPs. I know how to manage multiple tenants at a time. If you ever ask me to be internal IT and how to manage one tenant, I may struggle. I only succeed when I have multiple tenants to manage at the same time. But hey, being Enforcer, that's what we do. We manage multiple tenants at the same time.
Exactly.
And yeah, like Red already explained, I was too lazy to ask him for his details, so I did what every good colleague does and do his work for him and fill out his little intro there.
Yeah, and then just fill it up with same as Jazzy, right? What a good colleague you are, Jazzy.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But actually, my intro is quite the same as yours. I worked for an MSP as well. I worked in a modern work team. Worked in a modern work team for a MSP in the Netherlands. We were mainly concerned with a lot of enterprise customers. And I basically just configured all components of Microsoft 365 for the past few years. And since a month or two now, a solutions architect here at Enforcer. Also official IT support for not only my parents, but my whole family chipped in by now. I think mine is actually worse, my support, because I have some people in my family that still use McAfee extensions in the browser and stuff like that. Don't get me started on that, please. But yeah, let's dive into it.
Awesome.
There we go. So what are we going to cover today? So the stack that you might already own. So what is already included within Microsoft 365 when it comes to email security? Because when we're talking about Defender for Office, of course, we're talking email security. The baseline you already have. So Exchange Line Protection is always included. So that's a baseline that you always have. What does Business Premium add on top of Exchange Line Protection? When we say Business Premium, we mean Defender for Office P1, since that is included in Business Premium, but we'll dive into that in a bit. The settings that get missed easily, and then the last but not least, from configured to enforced. The fact that you just made a policy doesn't mean it's actually enforced. Let's dive into the first one. Stack you already own. There we go. Oh, excuse me. So, stack you already own. There is multiple layers to email protection within the Microsoft ecosystem. First layer of protection is Exchange Line Protection. It's always included. Every online mailbox within Microsoft 365 has Exchange Line Protection. There's already quite some things going on there, so it's I would say, a very good layer of defense, first layer of defense. As you can see on the slide, anti-malware, anti-spam, anti-spoofing. I'm actually missing the connection filtering there as well. That's also included within Exchange Line Protection. I can see that Tim included a screenshot over. Is that something?
I think they're referring to the registration page for scoring the stack.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So Exchange Line Protection, the basic security defense that you already have. Then what does Business Premium add on top of that? Defender for Office P1, safe links, safe attachments, Defender anti-phishing, so more anti-phishing capabilities. And then last but not least, P2. So P2 will include some more proactive capabilities, automated investigation and response. Maybe you don't want to investigate those mails, so let Microsoft do it with their runbooks and their playbooks. And then also attack simulation training. So that's the security awareness training where you can do some phishing simulations. Anything you have to add, Jesse, to those three layers?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It makes sense. I mean, every mailbox that you ever get, if it's a cloud mailbox within Microsoft, you end up getting EOP, especially with the built-in protection. Exchange Line Protection adds a lot of value to it from the get-go. It's just Business Premium does add a lot more layers to it. You get so much more out of your Defender for Office 365 Plan 1 for a proper enterprise-grade email security solution, competing with those bigger competitors, should I say, and other email security solutions out there. And having all of that in-house, when it comes to Business Premium and having Defender for Office 365 Plan 1, just lets you become an expert on one platform, and keeping the tooling in-house helps you with that stray as well. So you've already got it, right? Most of our customers, hopefully, are on Business Premium, and if we can leave them on there, and if not, find a way to get them on there, will give us so much more security and so much more ease of use than having to look at so many other solutions out there in the market. So we highly recommend the use of Business Premium out here. We love it. Both Red and I have heavily used Business Premium tooling. Enterprise E5 and E3 is great as well.
I know for a fact that you have been in Microsoft Learn a lot, because I heard you say enterprise grade email security, and that is straight from Microsoft Learn.
Honestly,
you've been in that documentation a lot.
on any Microsoft Learn page with me sitting there like that, and that's all you need to know. I recommend this.
So you can see the screenshot in the bottom right corner. You can see m365maps.com. It's a really good resource when it comes to licensing, and if you're asking yourself what capabilities are included within certain licenses, please go to m365maps.com. It's a great resource. You can see, so let's see if that pen is still working. Yeah, there we go. Exchange Line Protection is always included, but P1 builds on top of that. So that's with the advanced anti-phishing, real-time reports, safe attachments, safe links. We'll dive into that into a bit. And then P2 builds on top of P1. So everything in P1 is included, but then also the simulation training that we talked about, AIR, and some other things. Now we're talking about P1 and P2, but when do you actually get P1 and when do you actually get P2? Because usually they're included in other licenses, right? So there we go again. Next screenshot. Also from m365maps.com. Forgive me if you can't really read it all that well. I think it should be fine for you guys. But as you can see over here, P1 is included in E3 and Business Premium. And there we go, E3 as well. So if you have Business Premium and E3, you have P1, so Defender for Office P1. Everything below that Exchange Online protection is included, so you get that for any mailbox, E3 Business Premium P1, and then anything above those licenses is Defender for Office P2. So, for instance, an E5 or maybe an E7 that you can see over here, you get the Defender for Office P2 functionalities, and also with the Defender Suite and Preview add-on, you also get P2 included as well. So that's a little bit around licensing. I know licensing can be an issue when it comes to Microsoft. I've never seen someone smile when we talk about licenses when it comes to
honestly,
Microsoft.
it's a whole job role dedicated to just learn licensing sometimes, I feel.
Yep, definitely. So the most logical step for us to take, or the first step to take, is Exchange Online protection. What is actually included in that baseline that you already have for all of your mailboxes? So there you go. Jay, you want to take it? Am I taking it?
Yeah, let's go for it, mate. Let's do it together. Go for it. Yeah, you start. Go for it.
Perfect. Okay, so Exchange Online protection. This is the basic foundational security that you always get. Anti-malware, anti-spam, and some anti-phishing, but it's some basic anti-phishing capabilities. Anti-malware, there's not a lot of things you can configure there. Most of it is heuristics in the background, some engines that Microsoft runs. We can configure some things there, but I guess the main thing I want to say here is these three components are already included, because we're actually deep diving in every single one of these components in the next slides. You already have a default policy for each of these, so it's already configured in some way. It's not always configured in the best way, though, so we'll discuss that as well. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it also includes ZAP as well within there, and it basically is the scanner that makes sure that if an email does get delivered, even afterwards, it's the pull-in mechanism for email that gets delivered in case new signatures get released, and Microsoft realizes that there was malware in already delivered emails. So I think in terms of ZAP, I'm glad that that's included in Exchange Online protection as well. So you get that extra added benefit of being able to pull malware out of emails that are already delivered. That's an excellent inclusion in terms of the basic protection that you get.
Yeah, perfect. Everybody, forgive me for the next screenshot, but I promise you it will make I promise you it will make sense. Just bear with me here. Bear with me here. So we are looking at the actual Defender portal and where we are configuring Microsoft Defender for Office, right? So on the left-hand side, you can see email and collaboration. That's where you configure most of Defender for Office's configuration. In the top, you can see that the colors are actually bound to the licenses. So this is a business premium tenant that we're looking at right now. The top two ones, so investigations and export, they're not included. This is a P2 functionality. If you click on it, you just basically get an upsell. So we cannot configure those. So that's not a possibility. This is really small in my screen, by the way, so I might have issues making proper X's. Let's see if we can get that. Next one, real-time detections. That is a specific P1 functionality, so that is included if you have Business Premium. Review is where you review your quarantine messages or your blocked senders, for instance. It's always included, also in Exchange Online protection, so you also get that. Next to upsell, again, only P2 functionality, so you cannot actually utilize those if you have Business Premium, so not able to configure that. And then the message trace is always included, so also if you have Exchange Online protection, you can configure that. If you click in on policies and rules, you can click on threat policies. I'm pretty sure you have the option alert policies and threat policies. And then this is where you can configure most of the policies within Defender for Office. So on the top here, we have templated policies. These are the presets that you can configure. These are preset policies made by Microsoft. We will dive into those in a bit. If you utilize those, it depends on what license you have. If you have P1 and you're enabling the presets, you actually get more capabilities in those preset policies. And if I go down a bit, so in the actual policy section, there we go, policy section, the first three policies are already included in Exchange Online protection. Those are the ones that we just discussed. So anti-malware, anti-spam, and anti-phishing are included in Exchange Online protection. So you get this for every cloud mailbox. But as you can see, anti-phishing is also in a orange box because you get more advanced anti-phishing capabilities if you have P1. So if you have a business premium tenant, you actually get more capabilities in that anti-phishing section, if that makes sense. And then most of the things that you see in the below section, so that's rules, that's included in every mailbox you can configure. Most of that with any license. So this is from the administrator's perspective, like what is included, what is not included in Defender Office P1. Jesse was telling me, like, I'm not sure if we need to show this with all of the colors and stuff, but I hope it made sense in the end.
Ultimately, if that screenshot was far too small, log into the portal, security.microsoft.com, have a look at it, compare it against what you were showing. You may be able to see some of the boxes and make it make sense, right?
Yep, definitely. You taking presets or?
Yeah, I mean, so presets or custom policies, right? Ultimately, Microsoft does great work for us. They give us a lot of help. They bring preset policies out there for us, and then essentially templates that Microsoft have brought out for us. So they include different types of presets. So we've got the standard preset, the strict preset, and if I'm not wrong, correct me on this, Red. But there's also built-in protection that's always on as well, which is the least or the lowest tier that's always on in terms of some of our policies in there. But it doesn't contain a lot. But think about it this way: if you've got presets, why would you need custom policies, right? There's different reasons to have different aspects enabled. So if we've got a Microsoft preset that does some of the standards for us already, do we really need custom policies? For me, the answer always would be yes. But if you've got tenants that are quite small, or they're not going to benefit from having customized policies, and you want to work with Microsoft's best practices, we can absolutely go for the presets that are already in there. Now, think about it this way. When it comes to presets, there's only certain things that we can edit, right? Because they're a template in there. And having those standardized policies does mean that things will get auto-updated. So if Microsoft decides to change some of their reasoning behind the way things are set, we can continue to use those. But then with custom policies, you fully own it. However, that does mean that you have to make sure that you edit your own policies to the way that it's usually secure and productive for the end users as well, because you don't want to have the ultimate security in there. No email goes through, and all you've got is 100% of help desk tickets coming through. Of each email needs to be reviewed by absolutely everyone, right? So scenario one, you've got a few small tenants. You enable the presets for standard users, and then you can have some strict presets for execs as well. You can limit that to the types of users there are within the business. The catch is, though, some things you cannot enable within the preset that you still need a custom policy for. Whereas scenario two, you want more control over that. You can tune how you want the bulk email threshold to be. You want to tune what the quarantine policies are, or which part of the anti-phishing policy or the anti-spam policy does what based on the thresholds there, and quarantines certain results or certain emails for user releasable quarantine policies or admin only. So if you've got an anti-malware policy in there and you define a email to have malware in there, you don't want an end user to be able to release that. That's going to be an admin only release. So you can have a look at it, show the end user a preview of the message if you want to, but ultimately an admin is responsible for making sure that email is actually clean and doesn't contain things that it shouldn't contain. So that's where scenario two comes in. And if you do have custom policies that you've created, whether using our enforcer baselines, because we have email protection blueprints already that help you get going, which includes all of your anti-malware, anti-phishing, anti-spam, both in and outbound, that you can use from our email protection blueprints and align them across all your tenants. But what you can also do is you can adjust them in your baseline. Use ours as a recommendation, a starting point, and go from there. And we'll talk more about these in a minute as well, what these specific policies are. We'll do some deep dives. But then we've also got the configuration analyzer built in that basically compares your live policy and grades them against what they think is part of their preset, what they think is a better option, or what they think is a better setting. And you can help identify your gaps. Maybe there's a couple of settings that you don't like from us, or maybe you've configured your own baselines, and you can use the configuration analyzer to see what Microsoft thinks of those policies.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And just like you said, I'd say the main argument for an MSP to not utilize the custom policies is now you have to update those policies by yourself. And if you don't have some sort of a multi-tenant platform that can help you maintain those in a baseline, it makes perfect sense to go with the presets. If you do utilize Enforcer, you can just define those custom policies once and then keep on monitoring them and configuring them for all of your clients at once. And you also get that more control. And I'm pretty sure we also show that in a little screenshot. So you were able to see it in the previous one as well. But so the presets, pretty simple. You just get two toggle, standard, strict, turn them on, turn them off. And then the configuration analyzer is really on a setting level, and it's just in comparison to the actual standard preset policy in the presets from Microsoft or the strict ones. So you have standard recommendations in the configuration analyzer and strict ones, and they just basically adhere to the preset policies in the presets. So if that makes sense, there we go. That's the actual configuration of the presets. Not a lot to do there. It's just turning them on or turning them off. Basically, if you want more control, definitely go for the custom policies. Let's see what is.
Red,
oh, there we go.
We've got a question here in the chat from Josh. Do you recommend using those blueprints if you have other anti-spam services in front of Exchange Online? So we're thinking other security solutions that live before Exchange Online, before the connectors in there. Red and I had this chat earlier of how we think works well for an MSP. The bad point there, that at least the con that I think we have there, and Red chime in here, is ultimately when you have more than one product doing the same thing, you have more than one place to manage quarantines, you've got more than one place to find where that email got stuck, and having to release it is just a little bit more time and effort from the help desk. They have to look in multiple places. Personally, I would say maybe use the built-in protection or one of the presets and don't use the custom policies if you want to do that, or maybe tweak them in a certain way where you keep both of them aligned, but it's more tough. If you can move that customer over to Get Business Premium or Get Defender for Office P1, move them over that way and use one solution. But there is realistically not a right or wrong way to do this. What do you think, Red?
I am with you on your arguments. To be honest, you would have to ask yourself if they are doing exactly the same things, why not utilize one instead of both of them? But that can be a very specific edge case where you are still utilizing the other service. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. So next one, first deep dive, actually anti-malware policy. So we're still discussing Exchange Online protection. Not a lot of things that you can configure here. It's pretty basic stuff that you can configure here. So there's like 50-ish attachments that are already blocked out of the gate if you enable that within the policy. And then you can also add attachments and you can also remove attachments. So that's based on the business context of that specific client. So we had some big clients that needed to utilize some of those attachments. Next question that you can ask yourself is, should they be sharing those folders or files in the email, like in the first instance? Shouldn't they be utilizing OneDrive links, for instance? So that can be something you need to discuss with your clients as well. So these attachments will be blocked by the anti-malware policy. 0-hour auto purge is also something that is configured here. It's a pretty small checkbox, not a lot to do there. You either turn it on or turn it off. Recommendation is turning it on. There is one really interesting one, though, and I want to discuss this with you, Jazzy. I think we just discussed it as well. So this one,
Yeah.
what should happen if one of those attachments or malware is found within that specific message that is sent? So I'll actually go ahead and go to the next slide or the screenshot, and it's specifically this setting over here. The Microsoft recommendation in standard and strict is actually not quarantine the message. It's reject with an NDR. And our own blueprint also does that, reject with an NDR, since it's a Microsoft best practice. So it kind of makes sense, right? I have implemented E5 security for one of our enterprise customers back when I was working for the MSP, and I was working with a managed SOC and SIEM service that they were already utilizing. And they basically told me like, hey, if you are rejecting that with an NDR, you're basically informing a threat actor, for instance, that their message has not been delivered. And now they're probably going to tweak their message in multiple ways. And when they don't receive that NDR, they actually know, hey, our malware was actually sent. So I will leave this open. You can configure it either way. There's no really right or wrong. We did actually change this to quarantine the message, so we're not sending that NDR to specific to the people that sent the message. But this is something that you need to configure it yourself. If you do want to go with the Microsoft best practice, go with reject with an NDR, because that is the Microsoft best practice essentially. Anything you have to add there?
Yeah, I fully hear you. I mean, for me, it's the same thing, right? If we don't want to let the threat actor know that we're rejecting these, because how it basically works, the common attachment filter literally looks at exactly what's in the files, right? It's blocking it based on file type extension. But the common attachment filter also has true type matching. So if someone edits the file extension and you've blocked .exe and changes it to .txt or whatever, it will read the characteristics of the file and determine if it's an executable, it will still block it. So ultimately, you are using common attachment filter to block the email right from the get-go. No one's sharing executables, no one's sharing DLLs via email. Why do you need to bring that in, right? So considering that fact is, if you are quarantining it, you still have the ability to look at the email afterwards, but at least you know it's been blocked from the get-go. You're not worried about it. No one should be sharing those files via email. You're sorted. The NDR scenario, absolutely. You're constantly telling the threat actor, listen, you can't get through. Keep changing that file type. Keep changing the way you're getting into us. And they're just going to keep trying, right? And you won't even know it's happening unless you do a proactive research and figure out what's going on there, what's being rejected. So I think company common attachment filter with the file types, customize them if you have more that you want to put in. Zap's using it in case it does get through for other stuff that you're not specifically blocking in it, and Microsoft does realize and it can pull it out. And make sure you turn notifications on, right? Have these notifications being sent to an admin when message is quarantine or when these emails are coming through, whether that's internal or undelivered from external senders, because we get a toggle to set the notifications up for both email types. So I definitely think quarantine might be the way forward.
Okay, perfect. I agree, of course. How about spam? What can we configure here? So first thing is, when it comes to forwarding, there's two settings there. So auto forwarding off, system controlled, and you actually have a third one. I think it's auto forwarding on. Just know that auto forwarding off and system controlled are actually exactly the same. Microsoft Learn now also notifies you in that specific article, because system controlled now is secure by default. So auto forwarding is basically turned off. You can configure some limits there. So how many mails can the sender send before they are actually blocked? And what is important there is you have two options when it comes to blocking. You can block them immediately and keep on blocking them until you review that. So you as an admin need to review, do I actually want to allow this sender to send mails again? Or you can block it until tomorrow. If this were a threat actor and you're not on top of those incidents immediately, tomorrow is actually another chance for that threat actor to start sending out mails again. So makes perfect sense to just block them and keep on blocking them until you actually review that. What do you have anything to add, Jesse? I think I'm missing out on something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the outbound spam policy isn't configured by default. So even if you've got the preset policies, when you've got the standard or strict policies, they don't configure your outbound spam policy. Now, think outbound spam as your other sort of policy where you're blocking and containing of what's already happened, right? So let's say a threat actor does get in, they achieve it via a phishing page, or somehow they've managed to get in. What they're going to try and do, the usual case is BEC, right? Business email compromise. They're going to try and utilize that account because it's a domain that's been, it's whitelisted across lots of other places. It's got authority. It's not been blocked by other email gateways or email providers. So they're going to use that to try and phish other customers or other users, should I say. They're going to try and email out as much as they can and make the most use out of a hacked email address or a compromised email address. And that's where I think, it should be part of the standards as well, like your strict preset or your standard preset should be part of those preset policies, but it isn't today. And I think we should configure that to be able to contain what can happen once it does. Unfortunately, it does happen, but once someone does gets breached. Now, those recommended values there of 500 to 1,000, those can be changed depending on what your customers are mainly doing throughout their email journey. How many are they realistically sending? Is 500 a good number? That could be lowered if no one's sending more than 100 emails per hour. You know, if they're not a marketing agency or depending on what your industry verticals are, your outbound spam policy can help you a lot. And in terms of restricting the user from sending mail, I think it should be a manual step to verify, hey, why have you sent this many? We have a hard limit, and let that be notified across to your admins as well, so you can review what's happening. And especially sending a copy of a suspicious outbound message, you can clearly find out if this was a BEC. So I think it's easily missed out, and it's good to have these set up as part of your baseline.
Makes perfect sense. And when it comes to the limits set there, so 500 and 1,000, I'm pretty sure that the strict presets define 400 and 800 as the values there. But other than that, yeah, spot on, and nothing to add on my side.
Love it.
Okay, so this one is an interesting one. Allow and block list hygiene within the front office. Since emailing is such a core component of almost every organization there is, right? Allowing and blocklisting is something that probably needs to be done at some point. And I've seen some organizations that have a really big allow and block list, and some that almost have nothing there. That's, I want to say, like 5 different places where you can configure allow and block lists within Microsoft 365. You can do it in the actual anti-spam or anti-phishing policy. You can do it in the tenant allow and block list. You can do it in Outlook with safe senders and block senders. And then you can also use transport rules for that. So there's a lot of different places where you can configure allow and block lists. Then the main thing that I want to point out here is that the tenant allow and block list is virtually always the preferred way to go. Like that is always the preferred way to go, and you're only going to one of the other options if the tenant allow and block list for some reason will not resolve this specific edge case. And then there's also 2 different ways of submitting something in the tenant allow and block list, because there's a
Why
way
would there
where
be one way?
I mean, we're talking Microsoft, right? There's 2 different ways. So one way is going directly to the actual tenant allow and block list, which makes perfect sense. And then you can go ahead and put in domains or senders, whatever there, and you can allow or block them. The other way is you go to the investigation and response section on the left-hand side in the security portal. You have, I think it's submissions. And then under emails, you can actually submit mails to Microsoft for analysis. And then the next step is also sending it to the tenant allow and block list. But now you're also sending it to Microsoft and putting it into the allow and block list on the tenant side. If you have a good reason to not submit it to Microsoft, then it's fine. Put it directly in the tenant allow and block list. But other than that, submit it to Microsoft so they can actually change their heuristics and whatever and their rule sets that apply. If you put something in one of the allow and block lists, what does it actually bypass? It will never bypass the malware checks and high confidence phishing. Those will always stay blocked, and those will always quarantine. So you're not able to bypass those. And yeah, just some basic hygiene. If you know a domain is bad, don't just send or block the specific sender. Block the whole domain. Makes way more sense, of course. And then the hygiene is way easier to maintain.
Yeah, spot on. Completely agree. I mean, let's be good Samaritans and push out to Microsoft and report it to Microsoft to always have a look at, so we can help others as well, right?
Yep, definitely. This is actually straight from Microsoft Learn. So Microsoft actually shows you the different ways to allow senders and to block senders. And as you can see, there's multiple ways of doing it, but the most recommended one is always the tenant allow and block list. So always go with that one if you can configure it. These are the 2 different ways of putting something in the tenant allow and block list. So on the left-hand side, you can see you can do it directly in the tenant allow and block list under threat policies as well. And then on the right-hand side, you can see that you can also submit it to Microsoft. And then the next step here is actually putting it into the tenant allow and block list as well. Yeah, perfect. Let's see. Okay. Everything we have discussed so far is actually already included in Exchange Online Protection. So now we're going to discuss what does Business Premium add, or what does Defender for Office P1 add, because you also get P1 in with an E3 license, for instance. Safe attachments. I know this is Jazzy's favorite subject, so he can do this one.
Absolutely love it. So with Defender for Office 365 P1, which is a mouthful, but we always get there at the end. We've got safe attachments, which basically the attachment is checked in a sandbox and detonated right there rather than just looking at the signature. It catches zero-day malware as well because it's running in that sandbox. Now, the beauty is that if you do have the ability to configure safe attachment based on your licensing, we've got multiple options what we can do with the delivery of that email, right? So we can block the email until it's been checked and considered safe. And then it gets sent out once the attachment's been checked. And I think that's a good way of doing it. You do have another option, which is a dynamic delivery option, where the message is delivered before the attachment is actually fully completed and checked. So the body arrives and there's a placeholder for the attachment. Now, the only thing here is that your end user could see a text that says, hey, I've sent the attachment, please see the attachment attached and let me know what you think about it, whatever the email is, but they don't see one. That could lead to a ticket to your help desk, or that could lead to an email being sent back to the sender of that email saying, hey, I don't see an attachment, please can you send it again? But in fact, it was actually still being scanned and just the body was being delivered at first. Now, if I'm not wrong, you do see a message that says, attachments being scanned, please wait, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it's a small box that can be easily missed. So I think having block is a better way of doing it because end user isn't confused. It delays the delivery for up to about 15 or so minutes or however long it takes to scan that email and the attachment, and then it gets delivered. But if you're in a high-paced environment where that body needs to be delivered first, and maybe slightly confuse the end user a little bit, that we end up sending it as a dynamic delivery. Now, this is obviously all the attachments that are being scanned in email. And block is Microsoft's default, and it is what's set in, I believe, in standard and strict as well. If you have the ability to configure safe attachments. And I'd probably leave it at block as well, but you do have both options. And because it's just a cleaner look or a cleaner delivery mechanism for me where there's not multiple deliveries happening. The only other thing I will add here is that safe attachment also can apply to SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams being sent across, and it's being scanned there as well. It's just a toggle that lives within the same policy area where you can press the button, the settings cog at the top, and it'll show you the global settings to enable it for those locations as well. That's the only other thing I'd like to add there. And that, I think that's a screenshot to show what the options are for the detection or response.
Yeah, you cannot configure a lot in safe attachments. It says dynamic delivery here. We configured this as dynamic delivery. Jesse and I actually had a talk about it, that they utilize block and we use dynamic delivery. We actually got tickets because people sent an email and then had to wait for like 10 minutes before the actual receiver got the email. So the receiver knew I am about to get an email in about a minute, but it took like 10 minutes or 15 minutes and people would already be calling like, hey, I didn't receive this email. Whereas it was just taking too long or taking some time to scan the attachment. And with dynamic delivery, it does get sent immediately, but just the attachment will be put
Slightly
there
delayed.
later. Yeah. So we actually utilize dynamic delivery, but I do know that the Microsoft best practice is block, and we also block in our blueprints, if I'm not mistaken, because we adhere to the Microsoft best practices a lot. So yeah, that's my take on it. We actually use dynamic delivery for this. Save links. Okay, there we go. So another P1 functionality within Defender for Office. You can rewrite links. You probably know the, I think it's always like email protection, safe links. It says something like that. It's always the same thing that it says. So it actually rewrites the links that you click on in messages or in emails. You are shown that for a couple of seconds, and then it scans it, and then it opens up the link. So this is a real-time scan. Let's say someone sends a link in an email, and that link at first, or that website behind the link, is actually a good site. There's nothing wrong with it, but that site then later, maybe 2 weeks later, is changed and it's actually malicious. That was one of the things that used to happen. So this is actually a real-time scan. So whenever somebody clicks on the link, it can be 2 weeks after the message has been delivered, it gets scanned again. So that's a really important one. It already says it on the slide. Built-in protection here is not best practice. It's not configured as best practice. So please do use the standard or strict preset, or make your own custom policy, because the built-in protection is not enough here. Like it says here, click-through is allowed, and it does not rewrite some URL. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. So please make a custom policy or use the standard preset. I'm sorry that the screenshot is not that good of quality, but there's way more to configure here in the safe links, and again, something that you configure once with a platform like Enforce, and then just deploy it at scale. Don't think about it too much after that. Yeah, perfect. So let's see what we have after that. Anti-phishing. So this one is included in Exchange Alarm Protection, but once you have P1, you actually get more capabilities. So if you create a policy when you have P1, you have way more options to choose from. Most of them are around impersonation. So that can be user impersonation, as you can see on the slide, domain impersonation. These you always have to configure yourselves. Even if you're going with the standard preset or the strict preset, user impersonation is still something that you need to configure, since it's so tenant specific. It's specific to your client. And think of VIPs, think of C-level management. That's the type of person that you will probably put into user impersonation. I think I have a slide here that shows the difference. Don't mind looking at the actual settings. I know the quality is not good enough, but just to give you like a reference, on the left-hand side, it's an anti-phishing policy, all of the things that you can configure if you have Exchange Alarm Protection. Right-hand side, you have P1. You can actually configure way more within that policy as well.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Jesse? Or
the only thing I'd probably add is, maybe you can, once you get this PowerPoint deck, everyone, you can zoom into the pictures a little bit. That's about it.
Good point. Let's see, the settings that get missed. Of course, quarantine policies, we need to talk about quarantine policies. So if you click on threat policies, you can also configure some quarantine policies. You have some default ones. Some default ones are default full access, for instance. You also have an admin only one. There's some policies that will always default to the admin only policy. So that's anti-malware and high confidence phishing, for instance. They will always go to the admin quarantine. Only the admin can see it, and they could release it, but I'm not even sure if they can release it for anti-malware. If I'm being honest, they can for for high confidence phishing, if I'm not mistaken. But you can make your own quarantine policies, and then you assign those quarantine policies to the threat policies that you configure. So if you want to give users the ability to go to the quarantine and actually release messages themselves, you can do that in order to not get a lot of tickets about messages being put in quarantine. I want to say the compromise here is go for limited access, like it says on the right hand side. Users can go to the quarantine, they can see the message, but they can request a release, and you get sent a notification that someone wants a message release. So you can still look at that message and see if it's a malicious message or not, and you can actually investigate that.
Yeah, the beauty of this is that it's highly customizable, isn't it? Like for high confidence phishing or high confidence spam, you can have different policies for your quarantining. For your lower risk stuff, you can have different quarantine policies. So we can allow you to, well, not we, Microsoft, allow you to sort of have your own customization where you trust the user a little bit. I'm not saying you should, but maybe sometimes we have to. We trust the user a little bit to make their own decision and say, okay, this is a low risk email that we can possibly let you to view it and probably release it from quarantine if you want to. But for the high access stuff, for the high risk stuff, sorry, leave it to the admins to release, and even the admins to maybe preview. It's safer that way.
Definitely. For the next slide, again, I'm sorry, but it's going to make sense. I promise. Trust the process.
Trust the process, boys and girls. And AI agents. Trust the process.
Yep, of course. So we have discussed Exchange Online Protection. We have discussed Defender for Office P1, right? And all of the capabilities there. So an email gets sent by an external sender to an organization, and it goes through all of this filtering, right? And there's a couple of things that can happen. But let's say an email actually does get delivered and it's in the inbox. What then happens? What happens after that? So, like I said, trust the process. Here we go. So, left-hand side, preparation. An email gets sent. It goes through Exchange Online Protection first. If it is blocked by the connection filtering or the URL and domain block list, it gets rejected, right? If it is seen as malware or maybe safe attachments, rings a bell, it will probably go to quarantine. So this is quarantine, this is quarantine, this will most likely also be a quarantine, or might also be the junk folder. There's three things that can happen to an email. It can either be fully rejected, it can go to quarantine, and this can be user or admin quarantine, and it can be delivered in the actual inbox, and this can be the inbox or the junk folder, right? What happens after that? There's three things that can happen. First thing is the user sees the email and then reports it. So you have the report button. You actually have to configure that in the settings in the Defender XDR that the report button can be used. An admin can see that a message has been delivered, and they can also proactively then do something with that message. And then we've already discussed ZAP. ZAP is configured in the anti-malware policy, and this is basically Microsoft helping you with messages that have been delivered, but then they retroactively actually remove a message from the inbox. So that's also a possibility. Let's say that you as an admin actually find an email that is malicious and it has been delivered, or the user reports it. So if a user reports it, what happens is you will see it in the submissions section on the left-hand side of the security portal. You have investigation and response, submissions, and then user reported. So that's a little section there, a little tab there. In the user reported section, you can actually see all of the emails that have been reported by users, and then you can go ahead and start the analysis of that specific message. So what can we do? We can look at the metadata. Metadata is an Australian way of saying it. We just had a colleague from Australia that says data, and I'm saying data as well.
So that was one of the very difficult things over the last week. So last week, as Red said, we had an Australian colleague of ours come over, excellent M365 engineer, and there was a lot of words mentioned that we're not used to hearing, and data being one of them.
Data was one of them.
So every single time data or data was mentioned, we'd lose all track of what we're doing and just die in laughter.
Exactly.
And then it'd take another couple of minutes to revert back to what we were actually talking about and reset.
Just like now.
Exactly.
Just like now,
Case in point. I still can't hear the word data anymore. Chantal, if you're listening, we love you. Thank you for giving us this banter.
What else can we do? We can look at the actual content of the email as well. You do need a specific preview role, and that is a purview role. So that's the only way that you can look at the actual content of the email. You might actually want to discuss that with your client because they might not be, they might not like it that you can actually look at the content of the emails. You can use the threat explorer, so you can actually explore all of the mails that have been sent, and you can map them to specific indicators of compromise. You want to see if any other mails have been sent by that specific sender, and you can see that throughout the whole organization. And you can always, of course, also call the user, because the user might have some more context around that specific mail. Is the mail malicious? You will have some procedure in place. Maybe you need to notify some people. Next question is, how can I eradicate this specific mail? What actions can I take as an admin? So 2 things here. First thing is, if you have P2, you can let AIR do the work for you. You can let AIR actually investigate the email, and AIR can also then have some eradication steps in place or perform some eradication steps. If you're doing it yourselves, these are basically the actions that you can perform. You can move the mail yourself, so you can move it to the inbox, you can move it to the deleted folder, you can hard delete it as well, you can block some indicators of compromise, even isolate a device if you know that the device has been compromised because of the mail, but that's a pretty strong eradication step, so that won't happen a lot. I mean, I hope that doesn't happen a lot. And of course, some user actions that you can also perform. So that's really, it depends on what type, on every scenario, of course, that you're investigating. Last but not least, recovery and lessons learned. You can actually notify the end user of the results, so you can let them know. So there's a feedback loop. Hey, this message was actually phishing, or it was not phishing, for instance, or it was clean. And of course, you can also then tweak some of your policies. So you've configured all of your policies. You've configured your allow entries, for instance, but you might need to change something there because of the investigations that you've performed. So maybe one of your policies needs to be fine-tuned.
Yeah.
Anything you would add?
The beauty of Enforce, I would add here, if you do need to fine-tune your policies, you change it once and it gets sent across all of your tenancies, doesn't it? So I don't know how many of you in the chat here are using Enforcer today, but we've recently released a line by policy instead of a line by tenant. So before, where in a line by tenant, you were looking at all of the policies configured for one tenant and then making your changes. And then we've also got a line by policy now. So within there, we have the ability to essentially look at one policy and see how it fares against all of our tenancies. A little bit of a better process, I would say, but I'm glad it's here now. And that's probably the only thing I'd have to add extra on top of that. That was an excellent explanation. And again, once you get the deck, you guys can review that a little bit better. There was a whole heap of lovely flows that we can review and make notes of.
Yeah, Jesse told me I should have put some animations there, so it's not everything at once. But I think I did fine. I think you did
great, mate. You've got your red pen. You did absolutely fine.
I love the pen. Just wait until I take the laser out. There we go, laser.
There we
precedence.
Go.
Precedence. So something to note here, there is actually a precedence when it comes to policy. So we've discussed the presets that you can configure. We've discussed the custom policies that you can configure. And there's also the built-in protection. If a strict preset policy is applied to a user, nothing else will apply since that has a precedence over all of the other policies. So that's a very good thing to know. You can have some sort of like a catch-all system where a custom policy has all the users in there, and then, for instance, C-level is only in the strict preset, but then if for some reason a C-level executive is removed from that policy, they still are in that catch-all policy, the standard policy that you always use. So it's good to know preset policies first, then custom policies. They have a priority system themselves that you can configure, and then comes the built-in protection and the default policies.
But this is probably a good thing to note, because the trap here is that if we have sent out all of our custom policies to our tenancies and we're maintaining those, the strict preset button or the standard preset buttons on, your custom policies aren't probably taking effect. So if you've configured across the board your email protection properly using custom policies, toggle those presets off and make sure that your custom policies win. Absolutely. And configuration analyzers mentioned here again, which I think is still a great place to see how we fare against Microsoft's best practices with our custom policies as well.
Yeah, definitely. Some last slides. So when you need more, Defender Office P2, we've already discussed some of it. You do get some extra capabilities there, for instance. So that's the automated investigation. You can let that investigate all of the submitted phishing mails and stuff like that. And it can also notify end users. So if you are investigating mails a lot and you're putting in a lot of time, it might actually be worth looking at it. And then also the attack simulation and training. If you don't have a third-party application that does it for you now, you might actually want to utilize Must, as we call it. So that's Microsoft Attack Simulation and Training. Yeah, that's it. I mean, you probably use it just for those. Those are the main capabilities that you get out of P2. So I want to say that Business Premium is actually very good value with P1 already.
It always has been. I feel like Business Premium, they've over the years they've made it even better. They've made it stronger. There's so much more capabilities in Business Premium for all of your other aspects as well. I know we're focused on Defender for Office 365 P1 here, but even for things like Defender for Business and Defender for Endpoint stuff that goes on, Business Premium is at such a good level. And being the only license that wasn't increased in price recently, I really feel it's like the best license you can get currently.
Yeah. Best bang for your buck.
Absolutely. And I'm sure Lewis will be really happy, one of our colleagues, us saying Business Premium for the win.
Lewis Berry, our Intune MVP, please never mention Business Standard in his presence.
Oh, if you want an MVP on your side, you say Business Premium only.
Oh, and I do want to shout out to him, though. He has a very good blog. He posted it recently, just a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken. Difference between Business Standard and Business Premium and why you would want to go for Business Premium. Also, how to go about that when it comes to like your customers, and how would you discuss that with your customers. So maybe you can find that and put it in the chat, because I love that.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the whole blog in there first of all. And the second thing I do want to also shout out is another one of our Enter ID and security MVPs, John Hope as well. He's got another excellent blog as well, which I'll put in the chat here. Feel free to do some reading, whether that's toilet reading or not. I mean, read where you want to. I do that myself. Bath time reading.
Please stop here. Please stop.
we will start talking, but you read where you want.
Into read. This.
But read. That's the motto here.
So this slide, basically, what we're trying to tell you here is, let's say you've thought about these policies, you've thought about the correct settings for these policies, you've configured them once. That doesn't mean you have structurally applied them. So you still have to monitor these settings. You still have to look at the allow and block lists and stuff like that. So you need to have procedures in place. And also, let's say an engineer changes one of the settings because of an incident that comes in, right? Because incidents always come in all the time. Let's say he changes it. Do you now have that change, that accepted deviation? Do you have it noted somewhere? Can you still look back at it? Are you looking back at those changes every 6 months or so? So it's not just about applying the policies once, it's actually about proactively monitoring them, because otherwise you won't be in control in a year from now, or not even a year maybe.
And then the question is, who are you going to call? Enforcer. We can help you do all of that, guys. Absolutely all of it. Help you configure it, help you deploy it, help you stay effective, get you those drift alerts, make sure that things remain the way they are, and manage multiple tenants at scale with ease.
Last but not least, checklist. What have we discussed today? As you can see on the left-hand side, lock them in. So that's the common attachments filter and ZAP in the anti-malware policy. Outbound auto-forwarding in the anti-spam policy. Please don't forget that. Safe attachments. Don't forget the toggle that Jazzy was talking about. It's one of the global settings. Safe links. The built-in protection is not really safe links. It's not safe. It's more of meh links, maybe.
I like meh links. I'm going to start calling them meh links from now on every call.
So don't go with the built-in protection. Please use the standard preset or go for your own custom policy. And yes, also do it for the internal ones. I saw a question like, do you also want to go for the internal one? Yeah, I think it was already answered in the chat. Anti-phishing impersonation list, something that you will always have to configure yourself. Even if you go for the preset, you still have to configure the impersonation list. Quarantine policies, think about that. Are users able to release messages themselves? Can they put in a request, or can only the admin see it? And then the allow block list hygiene. We use the tenant allow and block list if you can, and then user report button. What happens after that user reports the button? It goes to the user reported section in submission. So you need to have a procedure in place so that someone actually looks at those mails and confirm the presets aren't overriding the custom ones. And then on the right hand side, of course, Enforcer can help you with that. Just like Jazzy mentioned, most of those things are already defined in our baselines. We do configuration backups and stuff like that, so you can actually restore to a known good state. So yeah, we can help with that, definitely. Anything to add, Jesse?
You're a superstar, mate. You absolutely covered it all. I think that's a good bit of homework to give to everyone. Hopefully, they can utilize our baselines and reach out to your PSMs and your AEs if you're having any issues. We're always happy to help.
Definitely. We will go into some of the last questions that we had in the chat. I do think there were one or two questions that we didn't answer, if I'm not mistaken. There is one quick last shout out that we'll be doing. There's a partner of ours. They're really focused on the reselling part of Microsoft licenses. You might be eligible for some funding from Microsoft, so you can actually go ahead and scan the QR code, and you can get a free check if you're eligible for that funding. So you can scan the QR code and see if you're eligible for that funding from Microsoft. There's a lot of benefits actually that you can get from the Microsoft partnerships, and a lot of MSPs don't really utilize that to the maximum that is possible. So please do scan the QR code. Deck will also be shared, so you can still scan that QR code. Last but not least is the last slide. Thank you very much. Please don't forget that the next part in the series is about Defender for Cloud Apps. So we will be discussing Defender for Cloud Apps P1, P2, what is included, what is not included, what can you configure or can you not configure. I actually have configured Defender for Cloud Apps quite some time, so I'm really happy that we're going to be doing that one. And let's see if there's any more questions that have been asked that we didn't answer actually.
What we can do is we can look through the questions later and maybe reply back after the webinar. Seeing as we're very close to time, we'd love to give you guys all the time we have here. But it's been a pleasure to have you guys here. Thank you for sticking with us and joining with our second part. Looking forward to see you guys on part 3, all of you, including all the AI agents that are sitting here. Please come back. We love doing these for you guys. Thank you.
We're gonna look back on these days in a year, and we're gonna say like, oh, the good old days when we actually had physical people in our webinars. You remember those days, Jazzy?
Absolutely, it's not far. It's not far. See you all on the next one. Thank you again. Thank you very much, guys.
I'm not sure if Short has a question because he does have his hand up. Short, if you have a question, then please let us know. It was a clap, yeah. People always mix up the hand up and the clap, yeah. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you in the next session on Defender for Cloud Apps.